It's strange how the most unexpected stories begin in the quietest moments. And mine started on an ordinary Tuesday morning while I was making breakfast, never imagining how profoundly the day would unfold. I was flipping pancakes at the stove when the doorbell rang, far too early for visitors, and there on the doorstep stood Ben, my son Daniel's childhood friend, holding two coffees and a paper bag. Smiling with that relaxed confidence young men wear naturally, and as I invited him inside, something in the way he looked at me made me unexpectedly aware of myself, a subtle shift I couldn't quite name. The kitchen filled with the scent of butter and coffee, and he sat at the island watching me cook, asking not casually, but sincerely how I'd been, as though he could sense the loneliness I kept tucked behind polite smiles. We talked softly, openly, about the quiet house, Daniel being grown now, my work slowing down, and when I mentioned the divorce, he listened so intently it startled me. And when he reached out to touch my hand gently, telling me I didn't deserve to feel alone, something warm and fragile bloomed inside me, something I hadn't felt in years. But the moment broke when Daniel thundered down the stairs, cheerful and oblivious. And I pretended nothing had shifted when in truth everything had. After Ben left, I found myself staring after him through the window, replaying the warmth of his hand, the sincerity in his voice. The way he saw me not as someone's mother, not as an obligation, but as a woman with her own quiet account for days afterward, the memory lingered. Then came his text. He wanted to stop by again because he had something to give me, though the envelope of old photos he brought was only part of the truth. And when he stood in my hallway and told me I looked radiant in the picture, something in the air between us felt charged and unspoken. With Daniel out of the house, Ben asked if he could come in, and we sat in the living room where he confessed he'd been thinking about that morning, that he saw me now not as a friend's mum, but as someone who deserved to be seen fully. And I found myself whispering that I didn't know what this was, only that it wasn't nothing, and that small truth opened a door I'd long kept closed. Over the days that followed, a quiet electricity lived in me as we took slow steps, walks, long conversations that peeled back years of silence, and he made me feel alive in ways that were both frightening and grounding. Until one night he brought dessert and coffee, sitting with me in the warm lamplight, asking if what we were building was real, and I told him yes, as long as we stayed honest. He spoke with such clarity, such patience, insisting we wouldn't rush, wouldn't hide, wouldn't pretend away the complexities, and when he touched my cheek before leaving, it felt like the beginning of something tender and brave. Soon we were meeting on a forest trail, sunlight filtering through the branches, as he held my hand and told me he liked me not as someone to rescue, not as someone filling a void, but as a woman he genuinely sought. I realized how deeply I needed someone to say that. Still, life had complications, especially Daniel. who eventually confronted me in the kitchen with suspicion softening into understanding, telling me he wanted me to be happy and trusted Ben to treat me well, and his unexpected blessing lifted a weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying. After that, Ben and I stopped tiptoeing and let things unfold naturally. Walks, dinners, quiet evenings where our hands brushed, long talks about past pains and future hopes, and then a weekend getaway to a small lakeside cabin where he held me as the sun set behind tall pines and said he wanted me in his future, not with promises, but with honesty, presence, and gentleness. When he kissed me, slow and certain, it wasn't about age or roles or boundaries, but about two people finally allowing themselves to feel it. And in that moment, I understood that love after 50 didn't make me young again, it made me real again. Once home, life wasn't perfect, but it was full. Neighbors whispering and Daniel teasing while Ben and I slow danced in the kitchen. Jazz murmuring in the background, and as I sat one evening with a glass of wine, watching sunlight spill across the living room, hearing Ben humming softly in the hallway, I realized life dose and tea always give you what you expect. It gives you what you need in a form you never saw coming. And all you have to do is be brave enough to open the door.